Welcome to This Explainer. If you're watching this right now, there's a really good chance that you, or maybe someone you love, is walking through what we might call a gray season. And I want to start off by simply acknowledging that heavy ache. You know the exact feeling, right? When the air just feels incredibly dense and this quiet, persistent melancholy kind of settles right over your soul. It's a very real, very human experience. So today, we're going to look closely at the spiritual and emotional exhaustion. We'll explore what it means, why it happens, and where exactly the light is hiding when you're stuck in the deepest of valleys. Just listen to these words for a second. Out of the depths I cry to you, Lord. Hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for mercy. That's Psalm 130, verses 1 and 2. And it is absolutely crucial to start right here because it validates exactly what you might be feeling. These feelings of profound, crushing sorrow, they're not a sign that your faith is broken. No way. They're actually a deep historical part of the faith journey itself. Crying out from the absolute depths isn't a lack of belief. Honestly, it's the rawest, most honest form of reaching out. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The pressure to smile, facing the world's demands. We really face a stark contrast here. On one side, we live in a society that practically demands constant celebration. We're relentlessly told to achieve, to put on a brave face, just smile and project this flawless image of absolute strength. But then there's the reality. The reality is that there are seasons when the sky just turns gray. There are moments when you simply can't muscle through or fake a smile because an unshakable brokenness is staring you right in the face. And this reality completely flips the script on how we're taught to view sadness. Melancholy is not a failure of your faith. Actually, it's a profound awareness of the world's brokenness. It's that heavy ache we feel when we realize, deep down at our core, that things are simply not as they should be. And you know what? Acknowledging this is incredibly healthy. We aren't meant to run from these shadows or just pretend they don't exist. We're meant to bring those very shadows directly into the light of God's presence. Which brings us to Section 2, Sorrow in Scripture, the witnesses in the valley. Take Elijah, for example. Here was this incredibly great prophet, yet he found himself sitting under a broom tree, so completely overcome by his circumstances that he literally prayed for his life to end. That is intense despondency. So if you've ever felt like giving up, just know you're in the company of some of the greatest figures in history. We see this exact same heavy sorrow with King David. The man who wrote so many of the Psalms was definitely no stranger to this valley. He wrote about drenching his couch with his tears, desperately crying out, "How long, O Lord? Will you forget me forever?" The emotional weight of that is just staggering. And then, of course, we have Jeremiah, literally known as the weeping prophet. He wept for his nation, completely overwhelmed by a sorrow that he simply could not shake. These are our witnesses in the valley, and they prove that overwhelming spiritual grief is a deeply, deeply woven thread in the human experience with God. So, the crucial point is this. Your gloom absolutely does not scare God away. He doesn't stand up there on some pristine mountain peak tapping his foot, demanding that you fix your mood before you're allowed to approach his altar. Not at all. The God we see in these texts descends right into the valley. He gets right down into the mess, and he sits in the dust with us. Let's move on to Section 3, Finding Purpose in Pain, the why behind the fog. But why? Why does God allow these gray seasons at all? If he's really with us in the valley, why doesn't he just instantly lift the fog and make it all better? It's a question that literally everyone walking through a dark night of the soul ends up asking. Well, the answer lies in what these heavy seasons actually accomplish in us. First off, they totally strip away our illusions of self-sufficiency. When those superficial, easy joys of the world just fade away, we can't rely on our own strength anymore. Second, it forces us to look for a much deeper foundation. We stop relying on temporary happiness, and we're forced to start searching for eternal hope. And finally, it's in the total stillness of a broken heart that we can actually hear the gentle whisper of the Spirit. This kind of sorrow acts almost like a plow. It breaks open the hard soil of our hearts, finally making room for true, deep, unshakable comfort to take root. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, Waiting for the Dawn, the Promise of Sunday Morning. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate turning point of the cross. We start with Friday, the absolute darkest, most somber day in human history, representing the ultimate gloom of death. But Friday gives way to the blinding light of Sunday morning.
Jesus entered the ultimate gloom, the deepest valley of death itself, specifically so that our dark seasons would never, ever be permanent.
So while our melancholy is incredibly real, it is temporary. We wait for the Lord, knowing that the dawn will break. Our souls wait, and in His word we find our true hope. We watch for the morning with absolute certainty that the light is in fact coming. So, what do you do with all of this right now, today? If your heart is weary, I really want to challenge you. Stop fighting the sadness on your own power. You aren't meant to carry this crushing exhaustion by yourself. Bring your grief, bring your exhaustion, bring all your quiet, heavy sorrows directly to the feet of Jesus.
I want to leave you with this final thought to carry with you today. When the sky is gray and you're sitting there in the dust, you don't have to force a fake smile. You just have to surrender. Will you let Him hold you in the shadows, granting you a peace that surpasses all understanding until the dawn surely comes? Thank you for walking through this explainer with me today. Remember, you are never alone in the valley.